Happening today, the former New Haven police chief due back in court.
Karl Jacobson, accused of stealing tens of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money to fuel a gambling addiction. Your reporter Anna Stansfield live outside the New Haven courthouse with more on what we can expect in court today. Good morning, Anna.
Well, good morning. Jacobson is expected here in court at 9:30 this morning. Will he'll once again be back on the other side of the law facing a judge. Right now, he's facing larceny charges, but this morning he could start facing even more. Since Jacobson's last court appearance about a month ago, officials haven't stopped digging through more bank records. Court officials tell us because of that, the former chief may be facing even more charges today if they find additional misuse of city funds at the hands of Jacobson. Right now, he's charged with larceny, and he's accused of stealing more than $85,000 from several different programs within the city, including the Confidential Informant Fund and the Police Activity League, which funds programs for city kids. According to the warrant, Jacobson told investigators that money was used to fuel his gambling addiction. Right now, he's out on a $150,000 bond with a condition that he's not allowed to place any wagers. Now, we have spoken with Jacobson's attorney throughout this process. He says he's hoping that people will withhold their judgments and remember the good things he says Jacobson has done for the city and its people. I'm your reporter live in New Haven, Anna Stansfield, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Anna, thank you.